I actually got a lot to say about this thing, if it's legitimate. I always question the legitimacy of metal objects because they can't really properly be dated. I always just wonder whether they're planted or not. But if you go with the legitimacy of it, I think this is very rainbow-like, almost like, pot of gold at either end of the rainbow. It is very much like a talk, but like a flattened one that covers a lot of area rather than being more compact and all wound round. These kind of objects from Ireland and England, the Celtic period objects, these, although the style is a little bit different, these type of objects seem to fit very well with all of the findings in South America, and the Aztecs, the Incas, all those cultures. I think it would have fit very, very well with those cultures. It would have been very, very fitting with them. I also think that, if, just, it seems to me like around the year zero, funnily enough, just as we got this Roman conquest approaching, it seems like we had all these artifacts in use they were in use, and they were contemporary still as we went into the Roman conquest. And then when we come out of it at the other side, when the Romans pull out 400, 500 AD, and then we go into this sort of like, how you want to call it, the Arthurian period as it's known as, or Anglo-Saxons, and then, going up towards 800 when you've got these clog teach popping up, 900. It seems like maybe even, you've got the Book of Kells as well. That's around sort of 900, isn't it, with all the illuminations. But it definitely seems to me like that, at that point, at that time, you've definitely kind of... I think they've kind of lost all the contemporary artifacts and use of them. Most definitely, it definitely is. I think it's kind of gone when you come out of this Roman period. I think we go into the Roman period with all this, and then we come out of it without it, effectively. So, I mean, can you imagine if you go back in time to, like 100 BC even, something like that, around 100 BC or even 50 BC, which is, 50 years or 100 years before the Roman conquest, I think if we'd have... Well, there are some people saying that we did actually have contact, and, people are saying that the Vikings went to North America and there was some travel on boats, possibly even the Library of Alexandria might have had records. They're even saying that some South American DNA is related to Aboriginals in Australia as well. But anyway, I think for the Celts, or however you want to refer to them, whatever people, before the Roman conquest, I think that it would have been very, very interesting if events would have taken a different turn, and if instead of the Roman Empire invading, if instead the Celtic people with boats and ships would have ended up having some, Columbus notable voyages, recorded and notable contact. And if we'd have actually gone to South America and formed whatever you want to call a strong contact with them at that point, I think that the religion which was being used in South America, particularly with, things like ayahuasca and peyotes and things like that, I really think that, the similarities are so similar. It's really almost like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 500. By the time the Roman Empire leaves, and then you're going into this kind of like, I call it, this sort of Anglo-Saxon and Viking period. I think at that point, that is, I think the Roman period really is most definitely this kind of like device. It's almost like, when you go into that, it's almost like a time warp, really. We almost like disappear into it. And then when we come out the other side of it, you're almost sort of going into this. That definitely. I think that the Romans are almost like the dividing line, the divisive period, and because the Anglo-Saxons then, if you compare them to, even in any of South America, there's definitely something gone, and you've entered into something different. Whereas I think before that period, you could have merged those two cultures, and I think that obviously something happened. We gained. It's almost like we catapulted. 4 or 5. We got this 400 or 500 year gain on them, and then there was like an acceleration. Now, would that have happened with or without the Roman conquest? I don't know. What the technologies. I know the Mediterranean, there's lots of arguments over, who's who and what's what. I think there's always going to be arguments, but, I definitely think that something happened and we have accelerated. If we hadn't have gone to Australia, likely Australia probably would have been as it was when we found it. This Northwestern Europe kind of acceleration, I think in a way it's a shame, I kind of think that it is a bit of a shame, really, because, the thing with churches and Christianity is it always looks odd to see that, even when Pope Francis is there, the model of Christ, this is dead, so basically, it's like a body on a wooden cross. There's something odd about it, not that I'm against Christianity at all whatsoever in the slightest, but, there's just something about these ancient cultures, with the rainbows and the light and the visions and the dreams. There's just something, it's the thing about it is that it is a field of study. The one thing that really is ridiculous is that, psychology, dreaming, the inner workings of the mind, the faculties, observations, all those things are a very, very interesting and legitimate subject to study. And it's almost like, we've got all that, and they also have it in South America, but after the Romans, when we come out of it, it's at that point, all through, 4, 5, 6, 7, 800, even then when we refer to that period, the stories are saying like, the legends of King Arthur, or, the Knights of the Round Table, all that kind of like, well, they call it the Dark Ages, but even then, they are referring to, the Lady in the Lake, all these legends and myths. They are even framing it as mystery or as magical or mystical It's almost like they're framing it as mystery. And then through that period, you've got the very, very early kind of, even Anglo-Saxons, but when you get to these clog teach that they're building and things like that, it's almost kind of like, with Christianity, you've got this thing, this kind of, it's a religion, you call it a religion, and what's it about? Well, it's about how you act, how you behave, how you conduct yourself, morals, sins, things that are good and bad. But then you've got these stories of the Bible and the character and things like that are, it's ironically, then when you get to, like Magna Carta and, like sort of 11, 12, 1300, then you've got, now we're having some sciences coming out of the monasteries. Oh, yes, it's Oxford, it's Oxford. Yeah, now we've got the university. Now we can study subjects. Now this is science. Now this is maths. Now this is astronomy and so forth. Well, we've had that all the way through since Stonehenge because, Howard Crowhurst is giving us in great detail measurements and mathematics. That's knowledge. That is science. That, Howard Crowhurst is like, wow, look at this mega complex mathematics of Stonehenge. And all this, longitude and latitude, alignments, observations, locations, altitude, all this knowledge, facts, which are correct, correct. Very intellectual facts, correct. By far from, stupid, dumb pagans, dancing around with daisies who don't really know anything, or the spirits, like blow the smoke, whatever, chuck a boomerang and spoke to the spirits, and then Columbus pops up saying, they're talking a load of nonsense. It's the thing is that I really believe that whole Roman conquest and the army, it started off because someone was migrating from here to there. You don't suddenly decide, I'm going to attack, we're going to invade Europe just because of some migration incident. It's all propaganda. I think that, that there really was a decision made, right, where we're raising all this religion, this knowledge, this, it was a very, 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 very military focused action, and it's a shame really with all these beautiful objects and all the knowledge, and it's a shame that the Christian religion decided to say, right, this is pagan, this is illiterate or wrong or stupid, and it really is a great wrong. Because there's so many interesting things to learn and study from the dreaming and from the observations and the functions of the human body, not from the point of view of the surgeon or from the point of view of the doctor, but from the observer, from the experiential point of view, observations of the self and the psyche and the rest of it. It's just a shame that they decided to say, we're scrapping all this, and we're just going to have, there's the book, and, even if you can translate or transcribe it to mean, interesting and useful things, it's a shame. And then particularly when you split up this whole, the university, we call it the university, looking at this big gold university and all the subjects, a degree in each subject, rather than looking at it as a holistic. At the end of the day, if you've got professors who have all got a degree in one subject, well, who has got all? Who is the expert in all the subjects? Do you have a, who's the chair of the university? Is there any? If you don't have a study of some kind of holistic, all-encompassing, what can you do with all these degrees and all these experts when you got them all? What use can you put it to? Maybe that's the chaos now of what we're in. Economics, science, business. Everyone's combating each other and in conflict. The food giants are making all these foods that are harming us now, and the chemical factories are pumping out chemicals, and we're all arguing and campaigning against this or that. Businessman wants his wallet full of cash. Rishi Sunak wants his strong economy and his innovative rocket fuel in the Shetlands to put him onto Mars, and more satellites and more surveillance and tech gadgets that are controlling people's psychology, and more, quicker. When there are a lot of mistakes being made. If you can't learn from those mistakes and say slow down, go slower, but yet Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg and Bill Gates are fanatically obsessed and mind bent on accelerating the technology quicker than you can fill a landfill with CDs. I really do think that army and that invasion was bad for the planet, regardless of what how we were running things. People were torturing people or sacrificing things. I doubt it. I don't. You got to trust yourself, trust your ancestors, trust your genetics, trust who you are. Would we do things like that? I really like to think that there are some altruistic and caring people on the planet that actually care about family and other people. And there's some people don't get it. So I've actually started to think that sometimes when a lot of the problems in crime, right, whatever judicial system we've got in place now with the courts and the judiciary, I don't think it's working, because we've had all this immigration, and fair enough, whatever you think to that, it's up to you, but crime's gone through the roof, and the figures have gone through the roof, and the police haven't been able to handle it, and whatever they're doing and however they're doing it, it's not working, it's getting worse. So this system of going to courts and having a jury and having fines and all this complicated legislation and evidence and so forth, it's not really working. And what they want to do is create more offences then and create more fines. But then they're saying, no, we're going to have people coming out of prison earlier and all this. So, and what it's done is it's allowed people with money and, people like Sunak to get away with it, get away with thieving and stealing and conning and using these policies and clauses and scams to pull one over on us all, When there's a natural balance, when if some certain group are taking the mick and, you shout. The Tories don't like us shouting. Why? Because that means we can get a handle on them and stop them from doing things, and they don't want us to stop them from doing things. It is a. You might as well have. You might as well be back in chains again in slavery. There's something. A lot of the time, right? If someone does something to you, right, and it really isn't nice, like for example, like the massive stones for Stonehenge and the standing stones are meant to be there permanent to guide people and for travel and geography and so forth. And, they're so big and heavy that, village idiots can't remove them. It would take an army literally to move them. I think that, there's something about the fact that if someone does something wrong, and it's not nice, you want them to learn, why not to do it, because, it feels like this or that. Now, you could say that, if one person does something, right, like, I don't know, whatever, like smashes a car in, then if you actually find out it was them and found out who did it and investigate it and then get them in a court, why doesn't the court say, right, okay, this person, we've established that they were the person who did it, we've investigated the reasons and so forth, so that's all, lawful due process, but what should the sentence and punishment be? Well, I think under the Druids and under the Celts, I believe that the punishment would be, right, well, they have their car kicked in. So ceremonially, right, you go to their house and, the person whose car got kicked in, they all stand there and they kick in their car, right? After you prove that it was them who did it, they ran away and hid or whatever, you don't know who did it, If once you established who it was, that's the main part of investigations, to find out who did it, who was responsible, question them and had a jury there. Maybe if the punishment would be, well, you get your car kicked in, then they wouldn't like it, would they? I really think that would stop them from doing things like that. I really think it would. Like, put a cigarette burn on someone's jacket, then, well, you have a cigarette burn on your jacket. Now, you might think that, like, this is not forgiveness. This is not like the Christian way of forgiveness, and then maybe we'll be getting each other back. But no, I think it really would stop people from doing it. The thing now is that, people are doing things, they're going into a courtroom in front of a jury, everyone's, but they get a fine or community service. It's not, it's got nothing to do with what they did wrong. It's not a lesson. It's nothing like that. And I really think, I think that they claim that, the Celts are at war with each other. They're always like tribal warfare and fighting against each other and all this. I don't really think that's necessarily true with all the trading that was going on and so forth. It would have been impossible. I actually believe that for thousands and thousands and thousands of years, I actually think that they had a very, very good balance of justice and, getting people to confess or whatever. And I think that got stolen. And what I believe is that by removing that, it allowed the real criminals in life, these oligarchs and these merchants and these people who like greed, to actually, people who would have been able to enforce, their own justice, really, are not allowed to now. Although actually, you could pursue crime yourself, hue and cry and common informers and the rest of it, all the way up till, the Met Police was formed, really, to be honest. But the justice system, the framework and foundations of it are meant to be lawful due process, which is that, to find out what happened properly, and so people know. And unfortunately, it ends up being about money, coins to the king, fines for the crown's treasure chest, and that's wrong, because then it's all about money or locking someone up. What use is locking someone up? It's kind of pointless. I'm not saying that if someone kills someone's wife, then the punishment is that they have their wife killed. I won't suggest that, but there's some these punishments, I don't think they're teaching people anything or putting people off, But then again, you might say that, well, what about, all these people who live in, Walsall or Birmingham or Liverpool or wherever it is, if it's like, an area that's, not wealthy and it's, under a lot of social pressure or whatever. Maybe that's why they steal cars, because people are stealing their things, so they steal things back, and that's how they're taught to do things. And that's how they learn this bad behaviour from other people. And it's just some kind of warfare retribution ongoing. But why would they take those things? Because if they don't have any money themselves. If the question always comes to, I think, or the, if everyone had the same amount of money and everyone, was equal, would certain people still be doing things just for fun, for the laugh, for a joke, or, for out of jealousy or whatever motivations, even if they had the same amounts of money? Or is there always going to be people who are, someone's always got this woman or that amount of money or that amount of money, or someone made something and it's the only one, not like, anyone can, get a widget, about this widget, there's only 3 of them in existence, so it's, if crime is going up and up and up and up and up, it can't be good. It means that we're doing something wrong, And I don't think television's helping. I don't think Jeremy Vine is solving everyone's problems on morning television. Whatever is happening now, the BBC and ITV and Channel 4, EastEnders, Coronation Street, Emmerdale Farm, sitting in front of a glowing up box 5 nights a week and showing people this acting of this is normal life, this is normal life, this is how humans behave, like the act. It hasn't made things better. And no matter how, Jeremy Vine can pedal up and down on a penny farthing going, this is perfectly normal, it's perfectly normal. It's not baking cakes and buns and, Philip Schofield spinning a wheel and, Holly Willoughby going, this is normal, everyone act like this, send money and give it to charities, bake some cakes and buns, It's not working. It's not making society into their car wash sponging, have a nice day, Paperboy game, Homer Simpson, Brookside Close, normal. And Starmer doesn't even want that now. He wants that to step up to, automated George Jetson House, where effectively the big corporate entities are effectively moving us around in the world, controlling us, almost like, it's conducted life. It's like a conductor. You've got a conductor, and, your life is being conducted by a conductor, maestro, right, get out of bed and put your shoes on, now out the door to work, make some widgets, come back, and now we've got robots making widgets, but now this is, you are, well, I know who you are, but now you've got a card and everything you do and say and think is on a phone, so we can check these within our means. And he is a good specimen here. We can pick out, this is a young lad who'll be a good runner. And look at this, Usain Bolt. Oh, it's a great name that. We'll have him on the Olympics. Pop some pills down him. This is it. It's too the Tory model. People don't want to be the next, lab experiment, the next, scientist breakthrough cell division and the rest get scrapped and then, robot automation. That is not, I don't think that is life, Life is character. People don't even like character now. We're going on groups like, Save the Greenbelt or whatever it is. And, a lot of women on there. Mark Zuckerberg has, really screwed up life because a lot of women, I can remember growing up, maybe it's because you're a child, but women used to be caring. Women used to care. If you fall over and graze your knee, then some random woman comes over and you're like, oh, you're okay, now it's like you're on groups and it's like, why are you putting smileys? Why are you putting the wow smiley? Well, because it's there and Mark Zuckerberg made it and it's one of the main smileys and, I don't want to write anything, but, why post something, you've got women now on the internet going, no, don't say this, don't say that, don't have this reply, don't have that reply. It's almost like a child, but not in the way that, almost like you're being told you're being told how to speak, what to say, what not to say, how to participate in the group. That is how you speak to children, It's not, you're not like an adult in a meeting when you've got something to say or not to say, relevant or not, And a lot of them, they don't understand what you're saying, This is what's happening in groups now with these meetings that there is law actually to secure meetings, to actually make sure you can have meetings and people can put across, transact ideas and suggestions and attend. It's actually like a public meetings act. So, the culture of mobile phones, like and don't like, people are getting so used to if they hear or see things they like and don't like, they're just flicking buttons, and treating people as if they're almost kind of like some Dr. Theopolis thing around someone's neck, not a real person, you know. I don't like the way it's going. We don't really seem to have a choice, because they're the ones who are actually now who own it all. They own all this technology, and they're the ones inventing it and knocking it out, and we don't own it, and it's not all, we don't vote on it either. And all this is not on the table for, you know, MPs aren't doing questionnaires. I won't mind, but, you know, none of these MPs are like, you know, why haven't, it's GB News or election channel. Why are the government not, you know, doing consultations, you know, how's the mobile phone doing? Do you think we should, you know, bring in some more legislation to control Mark Zuckerberg? What do you think to all this new advertising technology on your mobile phone that's popping up things that you've been saying or doing or taking photos of? Do you like that? Do you want more of it? Or do you want us to, you know, to make it illegal? You know, why is that questionnaire not popping up on the phone in consultations? How are we doing, you know, with Facebook? You know, I don't like it. We're getting kicked out of groups. I can't have a say. It's actually illegal. They're breaking laws. They've had Mark Zuckerberg up in front of the Senate in America answering questions. And, you know, it was, you know, I wouldn't have said that, you know, John Kennedy hadn't come out with the most intelligent of questions that could have been put to Mark Zuckerberg. I probably would have given him a, you know, George Galloway could have probably done a better job of doing it. You know, I think Zuckerberg was rather cocky and, you know, laid back in that meeting. There were lots of really serious concerns that should have been addressed, actually, in those talks and discussions. I think, you know, if I'd put it this way, if Zuckerberg would have been up in front of me, he wouldn't have come back out of that Senate. He would have been arrested. You know, if I'd have been a senator on the Senate, when Zuckerberg would have been sat there in front of me, he would have come out with about 8 charges of criminal offences, one of which breaking public meetings in England. He wouldn't have been extracting Assange. We wouldn't have been like Americans wanting to extract Assange from England. It would have been like, you know, British government wanting to extract Mark Zuckerberg from America for all his criminal offences that he's been facilitating and encouraging in England, like illegal meetings and so forth. Now, Assange is in prison at the moment, whereas Zuckerberg has got the privilege of having his own private house in Hawaii. But yet he is intentionally encouraging and providing facilitation to pull people out of important planning meetings and political meetings where creating the laws that govern Zuckerberg might even be under scrutiny, and encouraging people to block information and ban each other. That is not just one crime. That is actually causing international chaos, because you've got people who are having their homes and families and surroundings devastated by these planning orders. People running around like headless chickens. People in these greenbelt groups are running around like headless chickens, panicking. They don't know what to do. That they're literally, you know, their world is on fire. It literally is like on Star Trek Genesis, you know, when the whole planet is burning. And they're fighting the Klingons. That's what's happening now all over this country in multiple little groups, and no one's helping them. And they're all going berserk with the council, and they're getting no help. And when you come along to try and help, they're just like, the only thing they seem to do is throw money. Oh, they've got raise money. What's happening is all these groups are raising money and funds, right? They're raising like 5, 10, 15 grand. And then what they're doing is they're going to these lawyers, judicial review. And then these lawyers are making like up to £60,000, like with Stonehenge Tunnel. And then they're going to argue for them on a legal point where they might not win. Whereas we've already meant to have collected the signatures to get the local referendum, so it can be decided on yes and no, and we paid for that. That's what it might be, what tax money's being paid for. But instead, it's not. And then all these councils have been approving all these things that actually have been ruining the place. Someone's been making money out of that, all the contractors. I think that these big corporate entities have been filling us up with all this food that's destroyed us health. We've effectively been pooed on. What's happened is the contractors, the big corporate business and entities, have shit on us all. They've shit on the suburbs of the town. And then they've encouraged more and more people to make more and more things and explode population, including immigration, and the crime's gone through the roof and got worse. And then they're saying, all right, well, now we'll have to have surveillance and microchips in your head because we don't even trust you for telling us who you are or behaving. And that is further punishment and nail in the coffin for their failings. Because they've sat in those councils elected by these parties, slamming the hammer down, bang, 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 right? All day long. And what they've been doing is shitting on us. They've shit on us. And they've hammered us all for greed and profit. And the problem is that they've caused it. And the judicial system is completely corrupt, mainly because they don't even understand law, And then we used to be the ones who brought criminal prosecutions. Now it's all done by the police, who have since the Met Police was formed with Sir Robert Peel. He invented the police when Parliament burned down and burned all the petitions at the same time and the evidence with them. When the police were formed, they're, no, don't worry, we'll deal with all the crime. And now we've got this big, bossy, muscly authority that's, got the jingle jewellery, radio, backup support, handcuffs, truncheons, flashy vehicles, armed police. This big, oh no, we're helping you, but we don't need any help there. Why would we need help? What's wrong? Well, we've, turned all these places into slums, created loads of crime, and now we're just walking around like bossing us all. When they're the ones who are actually corrupt and breaking the law a lot of times, it's not our fault. We've got problems, we need to stop. The main thing, what is wrong, is that they can't stop yet. When we're doing, driving down the road, getting to work, they're the ones who are saying we're bad. And not only have they made a normal, mundane things like going to work criminal and bad, and it's actually breaking the oath and a lot of serious laws that are not supposed to give you offers and deals for confessions. What they've done is they just can't stop. And now, in order to sustain the massive size of themselves, so they don't go bankrupt themselves, they need to keep going. And that is this whole economy, strong economy. We're suffering because these people are greedy. They can't stop. And they think that the next chemical reaction, the next genome, the next stem cell, the next computer program, the next AI program, the next satellite in space is going to solve it all. But, did, the invention of penicillin solve it all? Did the CD player solve it all? Let's go back to 1980 with CD players, right? Has crime gone up or down since then? Did the CD compact disc player solve all the music problems? I don't think it did. In fact, it's got worse. So these devices are not solving the problems. They're actually making problems worse. Since the smartphone appeared, crime has got so bad now, and now the solution is that no one can go anywhere or do anything or say anything unless it's all recorded. And I think that this white shirt, Rishi Sunak, chief executive bluff, just because he's got a few pals in university who can, fly a helicopter and, turn a fucking chameleon from, green to orange, it's not helping. I don't think it's going to help. And actually, once they've got the robot workers who will obey, they don't need us anyway. And they can lie all they want. If they cared about us, they would go into their bank account. Rishi Sunak's wife would, if she cared about people, she wouldn't say she cared. She wouldn't make them a bacon sandwich. She would go into the bank account. She would get, X billion pounds out, and she would walk down the street handing it out to people if she cared about them. But Rishi Sunak knows that money won't solve their problems, really, because they've made a complete and total mess of the whole place and they haven't got a clue how to run it. They don't know how to run the place. They're bluffing it the whole time. Oh, we'll tweak this legislation. We'll make smoking illegal. We'll tweak this. We'll tweak that. Now we'll raise the tax up. Now we'll raise the tax down. Now we'll make, handcuffing yourself to a fucking pavement illegal or whatever. It's blag. It's a blag. What they're doing is they're blagging it and bluffing it. And there's Jacob Rees-Mogg on GB News. Oh, I'll give you some expert advice. Yes, right, Jacob. Bollocks. They're bluffing it. And they're doing it now. It's just a bluff. Day to day is a blag. They're just carrying on. Keep calm and carry on. It's bollock. They need to stop sometime on this planet, on this world, right? We're not going to the Dark Ages and we're not going back in time unless Putin blows us all up like in fucking Mad Max. They won't. Rishi Sunak, right? He has to be at the cutting edge of technology because if we don't push it, then the Chinese will get in front of us, then Putin will get in front of us, then the Americans will get in front of us, and then they'll beat us, Whoa, yes, like we did with, Australia, then they'll be able to just turn up on the beach and, take over the place. That's what Rishi can't have that. We have to be the leading intelligence on the planet, the leading technology, the strong economy. We have to lead it. He wants to put us at the front. Well, he has put us at the front of the crime. It's through the roof. He's put us at the top of the crime ladder. He's put us at the top of the landfill ladder. We're at the pinnacle of the mess, and there have been newspaper cartoons, featuring these, which feature Boris Johnson. There's one thing that these business people don't seem to be able to do. They can't stop unless, it's Baroness M on a fucking yacht for 2 weeks in the Bahamas or whatever. They can't stop. I don't think they can. If you have, all this acceleration in technology and growth, what's the rush? Why is there an obsessive rush? And, now it has to be to stay at the front because, someone else. So what he's saying is, if we don't, then someone else is going to beat us. Someone else is going to get power and control over us. But isn't that the conflict between the Labour and Tory party? Isn't that why they're trying to shut down every other political group on the internet and free speech? Because we might beat them. I think now the problem with Rishi and his pals is that the opposition in England are as dangerous, or if not more dangerous, than China or Russia. And we're not a foreign country. We're in our own country. The problem is that there's so much at risk now politically that they can be beaten fairly and lawfully through a lawful process. They can't have that. And we're more of a threat in our own country politically than the entire country of China or Russia getting ahead of us in technology. And at the end of the day, so what? the Australians had to put up with it when we rocked up on the beach. They didn't have a fucking option, right? We're here, we're on boats, you're fucked, right? That's it. You know, you fell behind, you know, you slacked, or, you know, we raced ahead, and now we're here, and now we're going to fuck you as well. You know, this is it. And same with America, you know. And I think that's what the scientists are doing to us now. We're fucked. They've raced ahead, and, you know, it's not pretty. You know, I don't think that what they're doing to us is good, and they won't stop. They can't stop. You know, not for anyone, not for the sake of anyone's peace, not for the sake of anyone's happiness, not for a continent, not for a country. They really could not give a fuck about what effects they're having on us, and they need to stop. We're not talking about, you know, blowing anything up or stripping anything down or terrorism or anything like that. We're just saying, how do you stop these people? How do you lawfully get Rishi to stop? How do you turn him off? And I don't mean like, you know, I mean, how do you, you know, how do you make Rishi go home and stop? You know, just go mow the lawn, Rishi. Lie on a sunbed. You've got enough money now. You don't need any more. You know, in fact, you've got too much. How do you get these people to clock out and go home and stop? You know, we need to get them to stop, but they're not going to, because they're actually, it is obsessive compulsive. You see, if we're obsessed with something, we're criminals. But if Rishi's obsessed with staying ahead of China, isn't that an obsession? Oh, we've got to do this technology now, or China are going to take over the planet. Well, therefore, I think that you're in a bad position because you're obsessed with keeping ahead of technology. You've actually got a paranoia. You've got an obsession with you're obsessed with having to keep ahead in technology, innovation.